I mean, I was like, no. So,
Thank you. Because
yeah, so part of under the zoning administrator, that's gonna go, just, I'll explain it as we go, just leave it in this order.
Right. All of that.
Yes. But there was one item that's in this packet that I emailed to you on August 20th that didn't make it on today's agenda. And that's, section 19.02 for the zoning board of appeals. Could add that to the agenda. I have those documents here to go through. So you basically said, yeah, the merger section. So I put them all here and then I'll tell you. Okay.
In the sites. So I, she may want to trade you, may want to, but that was saying it's off like that. Huh?
So is that for old business? Yeah, it's just
It would be business we haven't talked about yet. Thanks.
Okay. So you all back. So I said, I'm here. But
Can
you know, but you know, something maybe send yourself, how I can. Okay, so
I know some for some.
Good.
Yeah.
the phone, yeah, there's still, it's current. I see. Wow. That's great.
On that section 1902, what do you want me to, how do you want me to? Just section 1902 or adding appeals, section 1902?
1902 zoning board of appeals window, ordinance amendment, wording review. If you want to include all of that, however you want
All right, I'm just curious if there's.
I'm on.
section 93.02 ZBO with rules. Yeah. Number 9 has building permits issued and complaints, but I also have a special land use permit that I'm bringing to you, so I don't know if you want to list that separately or. So it's on the administrative issue.
We'll just keep that very far. 6 o'clock, we're gonna call this meeting to order. Sorry, roll call. Maskey? Here. Fletcher? Here. Opperman? Here.
Here.
Did you guys all have a chance to go over the minutes? Review them? Uh, One thing I had was on citizen comments, we didn't put who the citizens were for the letter and for the other comment. We have one against four.
I have in the past put the names down and
I mean, after we went through the whole thing with the other ones about being detailed and all that, I mean.
well, that's why I was trying to be less detailed. Be glad to mention your name.
But I'm just saying, I mean, should we do the names just so that they're in there?
That's the MTA recommendation, is that the names are
Okay,
included.
well, you guys wanted me to do less, so I was
Right.
trying to do less.
You know what I
You
mean?
want me to
Should-
go back and see who they were?
I'm,
Robert Opperman was one of them.
Okay,
Who's the other one?
I don't know. I just thought that it was just automatic and when I seen it wasn't on there, so.
He wrote a letter too. Robert Opperman did.
He was the one that was against it until you talked to him.
He was somewhat, he really wasn't favorable to it, but yeah. He was worried about his taxes going up. And he's really concerned about the traffic flow and the lack of policing for the traffic.
so the letter, that was his letter, I could put Robert Upperman. But I don't remember who spoke. Do you remember?
I don't remember. It's
You just, for the future, you
right,
want me to
just for
include the
the, right,
names?
should we include the
Okay.
names that way if anybody ever asks, we can tell. So we have an answer for him.
Okay,
So if anybody says, well, you guys had citizen comment, you noted what they commented on and they were for it, but you didn't put who they were. So they were against it, you didn't, I don't know.
okay,
Just,
I will do that.
was there anything else anybody else seen?
Nothing that I'll also,
I
I
mean,
see.
that was the only thing that I just.
Make a motion that we approve the August 11th minutes as read.
Roll call, Maskey.
Yes.
Fletcher,
Yes.
Yeah.
Any public comment at this time?
Alvin, did you,
Oh, no, I gotta add
agenda,
to the agenda.
you jumped to the
Yeah,
agenda.
okay. I would like to make a motion that we need to add in the new business, a number 9 for ZBA appeal, section 1902 for Ms. Denzer. She would like to be added.
What was that section?
Section 1902 would be number 9.
Okay.
Someone want to second that?
Yeah.
Maskey,
Yes,
Opperman.
Yes.
Dr. Yes,
Yes,
thank you. All right, now I'm gonna move on. Roll call. Public. Is there any public comment at this time?
He's like, that was $600 for and drive. I found it interesting, you said at this time, because I only see one set of public comments on here.
Yeah, we don't have no public hearing.
And that's what one thing I want to speak to is that MTA also recommends 2 public comments for meetings and the board does that. I really find that helpful. It really gives the residents an opportunity to be heard, and for you to hear them and I think to only offer one before the meeting even happens, it's kind of shortchanging the residents. And again, MTA highly recommends 2 meetings. The board uses it, and I'd like to see, the planning commission consider that. And as much as the planning commission also on your agenda is considering, some wording and updating of your planning commission bylaws, I wanted to just kind of support what I think Mr. Fletcher has said the last couple of months for sure. He's talked about how we've got to get it right. He talked about how, the planning commission cannot continue to have conflicts of interest. And he's very concerned about some things that has happened in the past, given conflict of interest that we have in the township. And I feel his pain, and I was just up here tonight as you're looking at the bylaws and the wording. Section 5 on the conflict of interest for the township planning commission says before casting a vote on a matter in which planning commission member may reasonably consider to have a conflict of interest, yada, yada, failure of a member to disclose a potential conflict of interest as required by the bylaws constitutes malfeasance in this office. And conflict of interest is defined as a planning commission member shall declare a conflict of interest and abstain from participating in planning commission deliberations and voting on requests. Well, that's Article Section 5, I should say. Items 1 and 3 directly apply to Millington Township. And I just want to remind you too, that on November 20th of 2023, I presented a conflict of interest charge that had 26 pages to it. That was, several attorneys found it rather interesting on Mr. Maskey's part, and something that goes back years. And yet the township supervisor has got to be the one that, makes it happen. But yet legal people found issue. But attached to that, Doyle, I wanted to remind you is an article from MSU Extension, which I highly recommend MSU totally as well. And I gave that to this township twice, and also this planning commission on November 20th of 23. And it talks about the conflicts of interest, and it's very clear, very clear. And we have conflict of interest here big time. If I didn't run out of time, I'd go into reading it. But it talks about, voting on things, even being present at things, shouldn't even be in the room on some issues. And, your bylaws that you're talking about tonight are definitely been affected the last couple of years, and it needs a hard look before you just wave a magic wand, because they haven't been followed. And I indulge if you look at that article by Mr. Brad Newman from Michigan State Extension. He wrote it on February 24th of 22. It's an excellent article, conflict of interest. And I thank you for your interest in this issue, and all of you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
I just want to talk about what Mr. Lay just went off about Emery Close 7-6. Right? Is there is some conflict going on, guys. You guys see it. So let's look beyond the scope. Let's look at the big picture and see who all's got conflict going. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we're gonna move on to old business. All right, so at the top, number 1 is the blight ordinance amendment wording and review. So I see that the township already just approved something.
They,
Relevant to the blight zone.
that was something else,
That was
the prohibited structure.
prohibited structures.
So the blight ordinance originates from me. It also comes with a copy of the construction code ordinance. So you should have 3 pages at the top of the pile that I gave you. So the last time we met, I brought you draft ordinance language for the blight ordinance as well as for the construction code ordinance. The planning commission asked me to make some changes to that draft. And your request was to bring you a clean copy of what the blight ordinance and the construction code ordinance would look like. This is after the attorney's red line master has been incorporated. Mr. Opperman wanted me to take a closer look at the Vassar ordinance to make sure that we were in line with what our neighboring community has done. I did that. And the suggestion was also made to check with Safe Built. I did that as well. I have copies of my communication with those entities if the planning commission would like to take a look at them. The other thing that was brought up in the last meeting was Mr. Opperman wanted to look at the Safe Built's contract. I'm hoping that he has had an opportunity to do that so that the planning commission would be ready to vote on these tonight. Are there any questions from,
I had looked at safe belts. The conversations they had with you, and they were all very clear and thorough. I thought that was very nice. Appreciated reading that.
if you remember, we were updating the blight and the construction code ordinances to match with our civil infraction policy. And make sure that they were ready to go to the magistrate's office for enforcement actions.
What you call that, the civil
Infraction
infraction?
policy. And ready to be presented to the magistrate's office.
I did notice, I looked at the Vassar blight. And I think one of the items was under section 2A3, which was if a structure is found to be unsafe, open to trespass or in violation of the Michigan Construction Code. I don't see that in the Vassar one at this time. I think that was, Matt, the one section you had your concerns with.
So. The construction code. Was modified. It used to say building code, it now says construction code, because the way I understand it, the building code is incorporated under the construction code, so I changed that title to match that understanding. And. This now, if you look at. Number 2, it says the responsibility for the administration and enforcement of the state construction code, including the state building code, mechanical code, is transferred to the building code administrator for the county to roll up. So. We as a township don't actually do the enforcement for those types of things, those. Are contracted with the county. So that's the reason for the transfer to the building code administrator for the county to just go up. Hopefully that addresses your concerns.
So that's different from the last month's wording.
That the Masters in here.
No, I did not give you a copy of the masters, but I have the copy and I can make you a copy if you'd like to see it.
And last meeting, we talked about doing home inspections or going into the home and doing an inspection.
So there's nothing within here that talks about going into the home and doing any election. There wasn't anything last month regarding going into the home and doing any.
What would safe build to their building codes? What would they do?
Safe build is like right now we have 2 abandoned buildings, and so they would be responsible for declaring them abandoned.
Okay.
I think that's where this
So
is.
through abandonment, they would be contracted to come in to check. And that would go for homes or anything, right? That's abandoned.
Right. I guess I don't know what your and everything would be including.
Homes, businesses, building, farm.
Sure. Mhm.
Would it be homes that people live in?
We have 2 homes that are meant for occupancy right now that have been abandoned, and it would be up to Safe Built to determine whether or not they're still safe. Let's see. How they go about doing that, that's not for me to judge.
But nobody at this time is living in homes.
That's correct.
What makes them abandoned? Property's owned by somebody's paying taxes, yeah, that's it.
Well, actually, no one's currently paying taxes. We tried to utilize the tax record to reach out to the owners of these properties. We've had no luck. No one's been living in them, so that's what makes them abandoned.
Oh, they've been shortfall from the tax sale.
Well, I don't know what the process is for that, but
You have less than 2 years.
nothing,
Second
no
year.
action's been taken on it yet.
Just confused.
So this isn't a knee-jerk jump at it, it's, the whole process is done before this gets enforced. I think it's.
I think we're talking about
Pretty-
different things. So if we're
Well,
talking
yeah,
about.
we're talking about the
abandonment,
blight. You're talking about that, it doesn't fit the blight ordinance until they're abandoned and proven abandoned.
No.
So where Safe Built would have to check on anything.
Well, those are 2 different things. So when we're talking about abandonment, yeah, a different pathway than general blight. So I get general blight complaints that I use the blight ordinance to follow up on that I don't use Safe Built for. So it depends on what the blight issue is.
So where in the process does safe buildings get problem?
With the approval of the board. So I bring something, if it's outside of my level of expertise, then I bring it to the board for approval. And utilizing Safe Built would be one of those approvals that I would get from the board. Because that is the cost that's associated with that, and so the board has to approve that. Does that answer your question?
But isn't the blight what brings the attention to the property?
Yes. It originates with a blight complaint.
Right, so the origination is the blight, you go out for the blight, you send a letter, and if there's no correspondence from the letter and there's no one there.
Then I would ask the board for approval to send that to Safe Built. For example, these 2 situations in these abandoned homes. That doesn't happen with every blight complaint, though. I just want to make sure that we're making a distinction between someone has too much garbage out on their front lawn versus an abandoned home. I wouldn't submit something for garbage or that needs to be taken off the front lawn to Safe Built. Does that make sense?
Where does it go? When does it start to go to the home or the building?
I don't understand the question.
When would you initiate safe build to go in the building or in the home?
I
It's-
don't
it's- if-
ever
it's-
initiate
if-
something inside the home. So all of the blight has to do with what's outside the home. So there's nothing on here that speaks to the condition inside the home.
So the 2 abandoned properties you're referring to, we have asked. Safe build to come in to inspect.
Yeah,
We have.
I'm bringing that to the board.
Would we do that with somebody living in the home too?
I don't know that I have an answer to your question. I mean, I feel like that's a hypothetical situation and I don't know the specifics of that hypothetical. It wouldn't be abandoned if someone was living in the home.
I'm not talking about abandoned, but
So I'm not sure of the circumstances to which you would be referring.
that there's blight present at the home
Well, blight present at the home
and somebody's.
would be viewable from the road. So that would be the blight that I would be addressing, is the blight that's viewable from the road. I'm not asking to go in their home to see if there's blight inside their home. That wouldn't be blight as defined under our ordinance. Whatever's in their home, I don't have any authority over.
But it's safe to be, would it be safe to say that if you get no correspondence or no feedback from the individual who owns the property that could currently be living there that has blight in their yard, they don't respond to the letters, they don't respond to the knocks on the doors, that blight, that safe bill will be sent out there at that point in time?
No, that doesn't involve safe bill. So so we have a civil infraction policy that goes through the steps relative to enforcement. And it spells out what happens if and when someone doesn't respond to the letter. Would you like to see the civil infraction?
No, I've read the
policy?
civil infraction, but I do know that there is cases that civil infractions can't be delivered.
Well, there's multiple ways to deliver them. It talks about those ways in this policy. Do you want me to?
No,
go
you don't
over
need to read them, I understand that, but I understand that there's times that people refuse to answer their doors, they won't come to the doors, they want to come to the door for the county sheriff. And they'll ignore everything that comes in the mail because they think they have the right to have what they want on the property. So
I
I'm
guess
just
I'm not
curious,
understanding
I'm just
what is
curious
the
that.
question.
Well, that gets out of our hands then, if they're to that point, that's beyond the scope of the planning commission, I'm sure.
Sure, system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you consider a property that somebody was growing wildflowers and native grasses for the animal? Be blight? It's not being mowed, it's not being cut down, it's being let grow.
I don't have an answer to that. I mean, in terms of how blight is defined, we don't have a particular ordinance that speaks, I mean, like the village has an ordinance that says how tall your grass can be. The township doesn't have a similar ordinance. So again, I think that's a hypothetical situation that I would need more specifics in order to respond to.
And in reading through this doesn't say anything about, we got a lot of people growing wildflower yards. We got neighbors that way, but they're not having an odor. They not, as long as they don't harbor rats, they're not gonna fall under this, and there'd be no enforcement through this policy, through this ordinance. And I suppose if they're growing their grass tall to hide the garbage, waste and pot cans sitting in it, that'd be another issue. But if it's just for growing the flowers and wild things for the bees, that doesn't constitute blight the way I see this written. Are you ready to entertain a motion?
Okay.
Yes, sir. But I
Does
think
anybody
this
else have anything they'd like
very
to
nice.
discuss or any concerns?
Well, there's a couple of things in here that I don't know that I like.
Can you be specific?
Yeah, what are, yeah,
Well, I'm going back through it.
Would it be on
Okay.
B? Would it be under B? Well,
Well, that one I'm still trying to piece together. I'm not sure what the phrase public or private property or waters includes. Residential farmland and any properties or timberland. What are we going after there?
So I can't speak to that. That's in our ordinance now. So that's not something that I've added.
where are you reading that from?
It's in B.
B?
If you want to pull up our blight ordinance number 10-1, which is the most recent blight ordinance that we have on file, you will find paragraph D. And I can't speak to that, I look at the one block.
So that would be no change from what we have had for the last however
Right,
many years.
I mean, if the planning commission sees fit to remove that or modify that, I mean, you certainly could entertain that as an idea, but that isn't something that I'm bringing to you. That isn't something that I authored.
Did you say that was in 10?
10-1, it's not in the ordinance, it's a standalone.
Right, standalone, you wouldn't,
It was
Yeah,
never
it wouldn't be
incorporated.
in
I can refresh your memory on the things that I modified, if that would be helpful to the planning commission. So I added number 2 and number 3 under A. I added the last sentence in letter B. And the last sentence under penalties. I also changed under Roman numeral 6, the 10 days to the 15 days, so that it was consistent with our civil infraction policy. Those changes were brought to you in a bold format when I brought you the draft text last month. But you asked me for a clean copy, so that's why it's not indicated on the copy you have today.
Tammy, you had mentioned after D, I got that noted. What was the one right after that one then? I missed it. Before
The last penalty, as well as a change from the 10 days to the 15 days in Roman numeral 6. Our civil infraction policy allows 15 days, so we're changing this to be consistent.
This does button it up nicely, and then, like she said, it's changed the things that needed to change, will match the civil infraction ordinance. And
Well, back to the question or the paragraph B, like, I don't know what that means. So if that's something that the planning commission would like to research, maybe that's something that you want to change or remove. I don't have an answer to that.
it's water.
they got road, any road or highway or any body of water.
In my mind, that is that if there's a danger near water, we could still enforce the blight ordinance. It's just kind of seems to be covering the bases.
the one in the third one.
It's not a target at anything, it's a
Mhm.
covering the bases. For all different areas is how I read it.
Well, the only objection I really have to it is any residential farm properties or timberland. The rest of it is reasonable.
Where is that, Carol? I don't see it.
It's right at the bottom, it's like the last
D on the
sentence.
front page.
So, but in Doyle, just wouldn't you consider though residential farm properties or timberland to be private property? Because that's what I'm trying to tie what they, public or private property or waterways includes. So, I mean, that's considered, your farm properties would be considered private property.
Is that what that really means?
I mean, you see what I'm trying to link it, how I'm trying to. link it.
I understand what you're saying.
I don't know that that paragraph actually does anything for your blight ordinance.
Yeah.
Like it.
It-
The
Okay.
term public or private property or waters is not utilized anywhere else in the ordinance, so defining that, I don't know how that helps you. I think you could probably remove that paragraph, but again, like, I didn't author that paragraph, so if there's a reason for it being here, I might just not know what that reason is. So I would suggest that that's something that the planning commission might check into. The way I read it, I don't think that it contributes anything.
You,
And it's been, that was 10-1, right? So it's been
Is
in there since 2010,
right.
right?
so I gotta put in.
Well, I guess if you look at it like Ed does, it's just defining.
Yeah.
Defining what that is.
But again, the definition isn't referenced anywhere else throughout the rest of the ordinance, so I don't know how that contributes to anything, so if you would like to remove B to eliminate the confusion, that is certainly a step that we could take.
No, I think they put it in there in 2000, where was it, 10?
2010, it would have been put in.
There was a reason. Don't know what it was, but there was a reason. And it just describes it. I guess it's really,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Anything else?
Describes what it is.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the Millington blight ordinance as presented to us.
So it would be the blight and there's two. The construction code ordinance.
Yeah, well,
The commission
we-
would have to,
We will actually, that'd be number 2 then, I think. Then,
are you looking at them as we go?
I mean,
Yeah.
That's up to you,
What do you
and
think?
you have to schedule it for a public hearing.
yes, so that would be the next step.
V,
Yeah.
the first part of V, I agree with. Once you get to or, and any property primarily used or zoned for any type of residential purpose for a period of more than 24 hours, except such as shall be accomplished within fully enclosed buildings. I have a problem with that.
That, I mean, on farms, that's impossible.
Because it doesn't say farms, it says any property.
Again, that isn't a change that I've made.
Yep, that would have been in there since 2010.
I think it's
Just like farmers for fixing their equipment in the yard with what's been on the books. We don't need to,
I'm a little concerned about that myself. I mean, if the individual.
But it
needs to
does
take
specifically,
care-
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
It does specifically say for any type of residential purpose. It doesn't, farming wouldn't be a residential purpose.
I just know, I mean, I've laid under a few vehicles in my time and you might not be able to have the money to repair it or something within a 24 hours, or maybe the part don't come in for a few days or something like that. I mean, if we're getting really critical, 24 hours is 24 hours. I'm a little, for the most part, not concerned with most of this, but I mean, I see that as a potential. I don't know if it should be in there. Or 24 hours maybe could be expanded on. What do you think?
I think we're reasonable people, and if somebody got called on this and they explained the situation and they're working on a fix, I don't think we would have to jump to it. But then if they dragged it out for 6 months, you've got something.
Total difference.
That's right.
I much agreed.
So again,
Okay.
that wasn't something that I authored,
Mhm.
so it's not a change that I brought to you. But if you wanted to expand that window, just to do the 8 hours, maybe 6 hours, or 20 hours, whatever you want to do. We could incorporate that into the modification, into the amendment.
Easy period.
By the time you order parts offline anymore, you know. That's true.
It could be 1 week, it could be 6 months.
I think 24 hours is pretty difficult.
What would you like it to be?
Well, I'm only notified that there is a.
Well, for discussion purposes. what would you
Um,
like it
I-
to be?
Maybe within a 1 week period.
7 day
period.
period.
7 days.
I think that would be.
I think that would be acceptable to everybody.
Well, we're changing. That's the proposal, is to modify the ordinance.
Yeah.
So the planning commission could certainly make a motion to move this to a public hearing with the modification in paragraph 5.
Correct.
I make my, a motion that we. D. File. That we would update or not modify the 24-hour period. And put in within a 7-day period.
I'll second that.
Yeah,
Would you
would we,
like to-
would we want to add the date though of the public hearing?
Make for motion complete, that you're accepting
And
this
accept the
motion and with modification on 7 days instead of the 24-hour period. The rest of it, I would like to accept.
It's just start over again, start over.
I'll just add to it. I got move to modify the 24-hour period to 7 day period in B. And then you would accept the rest of it as written.
And then I would accept the rest of the Millington Township Light ordinance as written.
And then I think we would want to set the date for the public hearing, which would be October 13th.
Yes.
So Ed, could you clarify, because you spoke to the ordinance number, do you have an ordinance number that you'd like to read, or will that be determined after?
At the time it's approved, because, we may do 4 ordinances at that,
With making sure you want something.
No.
You're in support of the motion?
Yeah,
Roll call, Maskey,
Yes,
Fletcher,
yes,
Compliment. Yes. Frizell,
Yes,
that is.
Was that October 13th, is it?
yeah,
Okay. Now the building code ordinance.
You also have a copy of that in front of you. It was originally drafted as the building code ordinance that's been corrected to read the construction code ordinance. The state construction code includes state building code and mechanical code that's clarified in Roman numeral number 2. Roman numeral number 3 has been modified to show that this will then go through the county, and that the county of Tuscola is the administrative body responsible for the administration and enforcement of this ordinance.
well, can I ask one thing? When we had the other one before, we had item 3, section 118 as amended as follows.
So I actually don't find that anywhere, and I wasn't able to find a prior construction code ordinance on file at all. So I don't know what that reference is. I can't speak to that. So I just I simplified the document to what you have before you today. And essentially, all we're doing in terms of the construction code is transferring the responsibility for the administration and the enforcement to the building code administrator for the county of Tuscola. Those are not things that fall within my purview. But we still have to have an ordinance on file for the magistrate's office.
So we're actually just directing them to go to,
To the county, which is what with zoning administrator, they get a zoning permit from me, and then I send them to the county to get their building permit. And then the county is responsible. Likewise, if I have a complaint that says that a building is being erected without a permit, I would reach out to them to let them know that they don't have a zoning permit, but the county would reach out to them to let them know that they don't have a building permit. So all this does is transfer the responsibility for administration and enforcement to the county for these types of matters.
You're still gonna do,
The
The-
zoning permit,
yes, right, okay,
Right.
you meet the setbacks and all that stuff, right?
correct. So this is not changing anything in practice. It's just we don't have this ordinance on file. And the magistrate's office said that we have to have this on file in order for the county to take enforcement on our behalf.
Well,
Any other discussion?
if the magistrate says we need to have it, make a motion that we accept the construction code ordinance as written so that we can transfer the responsibility to the proper authority.
If you look at the Vassar document that you have a copy of, you'll see that hers reads very similar. If you look at the Vassar document in section ordinance number 93-2, section 3. They also have transferred the responsibility for administration and enforcement to the county. I believe everyone in Fuller County does that except for. Oh, I think Arvila County is the only one that I'm aware of that. Excuse me, yes, thank you. Arvila Township are the only one that does their own building. I don't know of anyone else that. I mean, it's a big state, so there could be others, but none of them.
Any more discussion?
I think the only thing is we'd want to add, the public hearing date of October 13th for this.
Okay, now that to include the October 13th hearing date.
You do roll call.
We need a
Need a
second.
second.
A second.
Fletcher side.
Say my name.
Waiting for you guys.
Thank you. Okay,
Ashkey,
Yes,
Hopperman. Sure. Hopperman.
Yes.
Fletcher,
Yes,
Travis, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Long yes. Section 1411 prohibited structures order amendment wording review. So this one here, we already went through all of it, we just didn't make it to the newspaper.
yes, it was planned that we'd have the public hearing for tonight. For that section 14.11 ordinance amendment. Because of an oversight on my part, full responsibility. The hearing notices didn't get sent out, but I've spoken to Jackie and we will get them ready to send out and publish when we set a new date. Want to point out that there's one small change. Because the original one said it would be done at this meeting, I changed the sentence to a public hearing will be scheduled at this meeting.
okay,
Everything else is the same. And we even have the public notice ready. All we need is a date for the meeting, so we know when to send that out. So I apologize for that slip through the cracks.
we do it October.
October 13th.
yeah, and I mean, I think we could probably do 3, I don't know if we want to get to 4 or 5 or something, huh? Yeah.
So I'll motion that we do it October 13th. With the other two.
I'll second that.
Ashkey,
Yes,
Fletcher,
Yes,
Travis, yes.
Yes.
before we go on to the next one, I'm going back to previous. Last month, we had talked about that there would be money set aside. If someone had to modify a building so they could build a house or something like that. And I think, where did that wording go? That was, you were concerned, someone's already has a hardship of a house
The
burning down.
township did all that.
That's a town, that's in a township. Okay, maybe that's what was in the township meeting, not this meeting.
That the township set forth. When you guys the township set an escrow amount for someone who wanted to
For
put
temporary,
for a temporary dwelling, put a bathroom in, to have escrow in there in order for the removal of the bathroom.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of the township meeting.
I just completely disagree with it, because if somebody's gonna live in a garage, they probably can't afford to live in a hotel, so to have to put money in escrow, they probably don't already have. To live in the garage, to me, is just creating more of a hardship on someone who probably don't have any money, and they're waiting for the bank
It's
to
a
pay off.
hell of a bathroom in a garage. I'd kind of like one.
If you put one in, I wouldn't talk about it. All right, let's move on.
Okay,
Before we move on, thanks for going faster and looking into what they had on their books too, the light and the codes. Thank you.
All right, number 4, section 14.15, 14.15, recreational vehicles ordinance amendments. Wording review. Ms. Denver.
so I didn't catch this earlier when you were printing your agenda, but number 4 should actually be section 14.09 and section 14.15. And that is the second set of papers that are in your pile for me. And so this originates with a conversation that was had at the board level as a result of the complaints that were made for campers that were on vacant land that didn't have a permit. And so through the course of those various discussions, it was suggested that I reach out to the Department of Health and Human Services to consult with them on what to do when, and to ask them about the disposal of waste relative to recreational vehicles. So after having conversations with the Department of Health and Human Services and then bringing the results of those conversations back to the board then asked me to bring these two ordinance amendments to the Planning Commission for consideration. The first one is in section 14.09. This has to do with temporary dwellings. This would add number 6, which would read, the applicant shall provide a written description of the proposed method for sanitary waste disposal during the period the temporary dwelling is occupied. This documentation shall be reviewed by the zoning administrator and retained in the permit file. Similar language is in an ordinance amendment proposed for section 14.15. Disregard the C there, don't know why that's there. That's a mistake on my part. It's actually letter D. A written description of the method by which sanitary waste will be disposed of during the current period should be provided by the applicant or retained by the township. The idea is that before either of these permits get issued, the Department of Health and Human Services would like the applicants to submit something in writing that has a reasonable method for removal of their waste. Kind of like the way letter D is written under myself. I don't know why we couldn't use the same language. So I guess I would like to amend my proposal. Rather than the second sentence in number 6. To utilize the same language that's in 14.15. A written description of the method by which sanitary waste will be disposed of during the permit period shall be provided by the applicant and retained by the township. I like that better because reviewed by the zoning administrator implies that I have some authority to do something with that, and that isn't the intent of the language. The Department of Health and Human Services said that we should have that on file in terms of how they plan to dispose of their waste.
So you want to remove 6?
I would just have the language in 6 match letter B.
The last sentence.
The whole sentence, and 6 is gone, you're gonna
Right.
replace it with D.
D would suffice, yes.
I believe you're right. I make a motion that we accept these. as presented.
While we're going through these. I mean, if I look at our existing recreational vehicles, item C. Okay. And it says. On vacant properties for no more than 90 days. What constitutes a vacant property? If
It
you,
doesn't have a dwelling.
so if you have a 8x8 storage shed, then it's not considered a vacant property.
That's the way I believe it is defined by our ordinance. You could probably check that.
So even though people aren't living there, because Vassar's actually calls it out for as a single family dwelling, okay? Is what Vassar calls it out for. That
Do
if
you have
it's,
our ordinance in front of you?
yep,
Does it have vacant property defined?
no, well, oh, you're saying in the back there? Nope. So. No vacant property defined.
So it's my understanding that vacant property means that there is not a dwelling.
Not even knowing what's what. It doesn't have to be because,
But if that isn't defined in the ordinance, we might want you to.
and that's again where, when I looked at. What Vassar does. Which do not have an occupied single family dwelling. So they're basically saying, if you just have a. If no one's living there. They fall under this.
Interpretation is the same. But read that way. So again, if you would like to define vacant properties, I think we could do that within our definitions.
So are you proposing that vacant properties is something that has a shed or a garage on, or are you saying it's?
Well, that's basically if it had it. I just threw an example, 8x8 building on it, it's no longer a vacant property.
So I would. It's my understanding that if there's a shed on there, that you can't occupy a shed and therefore it would still be considered a vacant property.
Okay, okay, and that's where I said earlier, I guess,
I said it had to have a dwelling.
okay, but what's dwelling though is. Okay, someone living in a dwelling then. I thought you said a building.
Definition of dwelling would be that.
Okay. And then we're on the same page. I was thinking that a dwelling could even be a, well, building or.
Tiny houses nowadays.
Tiny houses aren't permitted in our towns. I don't have my definitions, but I mean, I know. Pretty sure single family dwelling is defined in our ordinance.
It is 1410. Oh,
So I mean, while we're changing it, should we make it clear, make it, call it a single family dwelling?
Not opposed to that. What about? Medium
Occupied, yeah, occupied single family dwelling.
is defined as what?
Is what we do is basically in item C.
change vacant properties to something.
Yes, we would change,
What if it's not single family, like, do we have places where like a duplex would? be
yeah, again, that's, they, or
Maybe just,
maybe we do
right, and just.
an occupied dwelling.
Well, but this is the opposite of that. A maximum of 2 recreational vehicles or boats may be stored or used on vacant properties, so you'd have to reverse that. So an unoccupied property, I guess. Cause if it has a dwelling, then it's gonna fall under letter B.
Right,
That clearly reads, may be stored on property containing an occupied single family dwelling.
C is vacant land owned. Vacant properties is, that's what C is about.
What we want. And I
It's
guess,
not about,
and again, I guess
dwellings
if we're
and-
saying that if you have a garage on it, it's not considered a it's still considered a vacant property then.
yes,
That's the clarity that I wanted to get.
That's my.
I'll second Zabit's motion. To accept the wording.
Could you repeat the motion, Susan?
Zabit's moved to accept the wording of section 14.09 temporary dwellings and section 14.15 recreational. Ordinance amendments as written.
Thank you.
With the exception.
With the exception though, yeah.
Would be for in the 1409.
With the change of
Six, and eliminate E from 5.
Section 13. Any other discussion on this?
Do we want to set a,
Yeah, I wanna make sure that I'm doing this correctly. So what does it read? With the exception of,
with the change of eliminating 6 on 1409 and including
and replacing it with,
replacing it with paragraph D.
thank you, from 1415.
Section 1415.
Thank you.
and would we consider a public hearing date for these two of November 10th?
We definitely can't do them October 13th, guys.
Sure.
oh, you wanna go home or something?
No, but
Yeah, it's winter November.
That's for hearing date of November 10. I put possible in case we need.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
just
And
gonna
2
read-
more things coming up on your agenda that are required here, so. And FYI,
I'm just gonna ask you, there's not an urgency on these.
I mean, I don't think so, no, because the board has already directed me to start collecting that data in the absence of the ordinance amendment, so. In practice, I'm already collecting that. The ordinance amendment is to make sure that that's written in statute.
Number 10.
And enforcement's more of a thing during the summer months anyway.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Don't we currently already have recreational vehicles sitting on vacant property?
Yes, we do.
That's how this all came about.
So we're creating an ordinance to make them move them, so they can't store them there?
No, there are ordinance already. We already have enforcement issues with RVs on vacant property that have been there in excess of the permitted period
Mhm.
and or haven't obtained a permit at all. But this ordinance that you're modifying is already in existence, so we're not creating an ordinance to then enforce that. The ordinance already exists, we're modifying the enforcement relative to the waste disposal.
still have some out of compliance with storing.
We do. It's a work in progress.
All right,
We need to vote.
oh, yeah. Mansky,
Yes,
Fletcher,
Yes.
Savage, yes.
Yes,
5, PC bylaws update wording.
so Alvin, you were going to do some research into the ZBA
It's
bylaws and the township bylaws.
township says they don't have any to give me. And so
they go with what MTA's recommendations are and that's all they follow.
and then the ZBA's is quite different than what we were proposing. So I think to try and veer them, it's not going to,
One thing I would like to know, the ZBA bylaws have been vetted by the township lawyer, which is recommended anytime you make changes to bylaws. They say it needs to be run by your lawyer. They say it's a good idea to run it past the lawyer to make sure nothing is wrong. And so have you shown this through your proposal to the lawyer, Ed? To see what he thought of it?
What we did is we mirrored from our discussion what was in the MTA book. So the wording from there is from the MTA book. I had not ran it past the lawyer.
Is it directly from it?
Yes,
No, no.
it's pretty much word for word verbatim.
yeah.
Has the planning commission had opportunity to look at the ZBOAs?
I have.
Yeah.
I
There
have,
are a few things that I would like to mention. The way that they word how the secretary does the minutes is much better written, for lack of a better term, than the way you got it.
well,
Yours is kind of confrontational. The way
So-
that, here, let me read what they've got, and you can compare it with how you've written yours. That the secretary shall be responsible for a permanent record of minutes of each meeting, which shall be retained by the township clerk as a permanent record. The minutes shall contain record of attendance, noting any absences as excused or not, as well as brief synopsis of the meeting, including a complete restatement of all motions, a record of all votes, and any conditions or recommendations made. And then J and K are the ones that are the particular I'd like you to think about. The secretary shall provide proposed minutes of each meeting in accordance with the OMA, and it lists the section number, for public inspection within 8 business days of the meeting. And K says the secretary shall provide approved minutes of each meeting in accordance with the OMA, and lists the number for public inspection within 5 business days. Each meeting is able to approve. The way you've got it written is, they must be available to the public within 8 days and must be, available to the public. That's kind of a challenging, critical way of writing it. This says the same thing, and by using the word shall instead of must,
so,
it accomplishes the same thing.
so page 35 of the book. Paragraph halfway down there. This is right out of the MTA book. The draft minutes must be available to the public within 8 business days after the meeting, and approved minutes must be made available to the public within 5 days following the approval. So again, I wrote it word for word verbatim out of the MTA book.
Well, can you see how it sounds better with shall instead of must? And yet it accomplishes the same thing. Because the way you've got it there, it makes it sound like it hasn't been done. And it has, in this township, been done. Those minutes are always available within the 7 days.
And again, all I was doing was copying the wording verbatim out of the MTA book.
I was just suggesting the alternative of using J and K wording instead of those two sentences the way you have them.
Is there any chance that the planning commission could adopt the same language as the zoning board of appeals? And then perhaps when you could bring that to the board, because it'd be nice if all three entities use the same language. And the zoning board of appeals is already voted by your attorney and her attorney recommended. So if we could defer to that, it's already been vetted, and if we could have all three boards entertain the same language, that consistency across the townships would be very helpful.
That's a good idea.
I mean, I keep hearing that we should follow MTA's recommendation. And then when I do follow the recommendation, now I'm hearing we shouldn't.
I don't think the ZBOA's document is in opposition to anything that.
It's
Right,
the same, otherwise it's shall versus must. And maybe I'm a little sensitive about it because of,
But I
way
think
it was
there's other
presented.
language differences.
but shall does the same thing and gets the same thing accomplished.
And it does reference the Open Meetings Act, which is the governing entity in statutes.
Have the entire zoning board of appeals
Yep, I got it here
here,
too.
because you want me to make copies for everybody, but
So what you wanna change is the draft minutes must be available to the draft minutes shall be available
to be
to the
shall be,
public within 8 business days.
yes.
So I don't think you were looking to change that. You were looking to mimic the ZBOA statute.
Yeah, the way this is written is clearer and like, then the suggestion that we'd have them all be the same makes sense. Then it doesn't matter what board you're on, you know what
Right.
the standards are.
What letter was it, Luann, and, cause I got the ZBA again. You
Yeah.
said,
Mainly J and K, but I, J and K are the ones that we're discussing now with the minutes.
If it would be helpful to the other
Third
planning
page.
commission. Alvin, would you like me to make a copy of those?
No, he's got my copy, I read it.
Oh, okay. Does Joel have a copy too?
You don't have a copy of that?
No, but I would, have to look at it.
right here's
Do you want me to make a copy?
IJ and K.
This is a ZBA.
That's the ZBA.
Yeah, sure.
Everything else is pretty close to those, but those were the ones that stuck out to me.
It's just interesting to me that the first time that we wanna do exactly what MTA has. Now we have kickback on it. The
I
ZBA's,
think,
ZBA's doesn't even. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's been gone through by the attorney and the attorney approved it, but. I mean,
it
if
says
we,
the
if
same
we
thing.
sent, if we sent what the MTA wrote. I mean, that makes no sense to me. Yeah, I see that the attorney went through it. You give them their blessing, but
This isn't wrong. No,
Right, but we copy what MTA says. We have people from the audience say that we should be following what MTA says, and everybody tells us we should follow what MTA says. The first time we do what MTA says, now we're being told, don't do what MTA says.
There was nothing wrong with the ones the bylaws we just approved in January. We're
Oh,
spinning our
yes.
wheels redoing the bylaws in 6 months.
Oh, no, there was a problem.
No, there wasn't. We've been,
Oh, yes, there was a problem,
May I-
Luann.
Just for my own understanding and clarification, is there something in the ZBOAs that you feel is in conflict with what MTA is suggesting? Is there something in there that goes against what MTA is recommending?
No, but it's definitely not worded the same. It's definitely worded,
Differently, yeah.
yeah, it's worded completely differently. I mean, it could be construed differently too. I mean.
MTA has a pretty thick foot. You're not gonna rewrite everything that MTA writes. But if there's nothing in there that contradicts what MTA is saying, then I don't think anyone is telling you to go against what MTA is recommending. I think that's an inaccurate.
So why wouldn't we use the MTA wording then?
I mean,
I'm just-
that would be a problem, but it comes from the MTA, I don't see why it should be.
Well, have any discussion on this? 'Cause you're the one who
Well-
brought this up. You're the one that's proposed that we go
Yes,
back
I
through
have,
our bylaws.
as to the Luann's. I see how I don't see how that would make a huge difference from must to shall.
So we were wanting to just change the must to a shall?
To change draft minutes from must to shall be available to the public within 8 business days.
That actually wasn't correct.
The CBA used shall and may consistently to mean somebody must or shall do something, or they may or could do something. And it was, I think, it was just a question of using two different words.
So
Right.
Shall and
legally,
may.
shall and may mean two different things.
Yes.
Right.
Shall and must mean the same thing. But I think there was more in that section of what the ZBOA had written that Luann was comfortable with, rather than just changing that word selection. Unless I misunderstood your request, Luann. If I did, I apologize.
You said you didn't want that word, what was the other word that you didn't like going in? Wasn't there another one?
no, I just think that the simplest would be to take what we've got already that we voted in place as bylaws in January of this year. Add the J and the K with the ZBA's wordings. And that would be fine. I really don't see anything wrong with the bylaws as they were. And I was trying to make it a simple change.
But we,
I mean, I see something wrong with bylaws automatically. Haven't said anything, but I see something wrong with that. All meetings of the ZBA shall be conducted in accordance with acceptance preliminary procedures as governed by Robert's Rules of Order. Seems to me that should say governed by the chairman's rules of order. So there's one thing I see that I don't agree with, that I wouldn't.
Where,
Why would we put, why would we put on there, all meetings of the planning commission shall be conducted by accordance with set procedures governed by the Zabbitz's rules of order. That's not how it should be wrote.
Robert's Rules of Order doesn't speak to a person named Robert. I mean, it does, but that's not the point. It's not speaking to Robert Bernard or to Robert Loomis. It's
So
that
there's.
Robert's Rules of Order is an accepted standard of practice in operating meeting.
yeah, standard, right?
Heard it.
Oh, you hadn't heard of Robert Rule? Oh, wow.
I've never heard of it, so I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It just seems odd.
It exists.
I guarantee you it exists. I was on a parliamentary procedure team
Yeah.
in high school.
Easy.
And that is what we use, Robert's Rules of Order.
Order.
Alright.
Yeah.
And that's what business meetings are run by, Robert's Rules of Order.
Never knew.
Okay, no,
Well, I haven't heard of it.
no, that's,
Anyway,
I mean, you're the one who brought all this about.
right, and the reason
So,
I
what do
brought
you
it
guys wanna
all
do
up,
with this?
because there was things that were not specifically spelled out in the planning commission bylaws, and that need to be.
So are they spelled out in the ZBAs?
I haven't read all the way through.
Are they
I
spelled
don't
out
know.
in this document that he submitted here?
Well, give Doyle time to
Um,
read DBA.
Read that over.
Well, three times I tried to read this,
well, this is. the whole
what he
thing.
put in for a conflict of interest.
Well, that's exactly what you guys, we had.
Yeah, this is
discussed.
what was added. This is added
Right.
This is being added to
to
the,
what we currently have, yes.
so let me read it through once more time. Once an attorney becomes determined. He says he or she shall recuse himself or herself. This is more than simply abstaining from voting. And means that the person must remove himself or herself physically from any discussions, hearings, deliberations, and information gathering regarding that decision, in addition to abstaining from voting on the decision. That's what,
That's what's
that's
in,
what's missing,
and that's what's in MTA.
and that's from MTA.
Is it part of the ZBAs?
Well, let me go.
And here's the ZBA here.
Officers.
No, it is not.
Which one are you talking about?
So we look at ZBA as H, conflict of interest.
H,
It does say the member is disqualified for voting on a matter if a conflict of interest exists. Or a majority of the members conclude that a conflict exists.
Let him read it.
Mr. Jones, did you make a comment that the township board uses MTAs,
They just go by their recommendations. They don't have it printed out here.
but they go by the recommendations in three?
And they're going by this.
He says
It's probably
that's-
not going by anything. Like, let's be real. They're not looking into MTA books every time you.
This is MTA book. I think I'm reading it.
Let Doyle read and decide.
right there in black and white,
Yeah,
MTA book.
I know he copied it.
And so far, I haven't seen in here where they have that.
Well, this minutes need not be word for word account, but should contain enough.
But
That's an
that's totally something different.
I know, but that's an
Doyle-
instructional thing. That doesn't need to be in the bylaws, is what I'm saying.
it's in the MTA book.
It makes the
Doyle,
cumbersome.
you wanted to change the conflict of interest. Did you express an interest in changing the secretary's minutes?
Nope.
We brought that up because we had a concern where we wanted to make changes to the meeting minutes.
Yeah, and it couldn't, somebody.
And we had no documentation of how that process went. So that's why we're adding it to our bylaws, so we have it in black and white of what process we should be using. That's why we had it.
Discussed it. You made a motion to address that at a
Yes.
previous meeting.
Yes.
It was about one-lining it if it wasn't correct or something, and then
Right, yes,
substituting it with.
Yep.
Yes,
So that motion that you made at a previous meeting addressed that concern.
yep, so we have it in there.
So all the changes that you want to make now really are just
Changing
locating
changes.
Luann.
Yes.
So there's ZBA's conflict of interest. Does
I don't
not,
think any of this was
follow
out
that.
of both Luann, because Luann does a wonderful job as secretary.
absolutely.
nobody's saying you're not.
So I definitely don't think
It,
the whole
Well, I
thing
don't
with the
feel-
wording on.
Wow, nobody.
it had no intent of holding anyone.
No,
I'm-
Absolutely
I'm-
not. Was that meant to attack you in any way, shape or form.
I was just trying to match
It was
MTA.
Matt from MTA, had
Right.
nothing to do with anything you've ever done.
And that's what we need to do. We need
And
to
me
match what the
questioning you at the
MTA
beginning of
said.
the meeting about the two citizen comments, I was just asking.
And that's fine. The way you asked was very nice.
So,
None of this calling me at home and saying, you must change this before a
No, so-
meeting, as has happened in the past. So that's
But-
how this whole thing came up,
I
and
mean,
I'm glad it's getting clarified.
You do a good job.
right, I don't want anybody on this board to ever say that you don't do a good job.
Right.
So that's for sure. And when we went through this and we looked at what MTA said, I did not read that thinking that it had something to do with anything that took place in the past here in the board. Absolutely not.
No, and
That needs to
and as
be,
far as the secretary, I believe it's good, just the way it is, with one exception that you asked about.
Do you want
And I
to change
believe that-
must to shall?
Shall,
No, she wanted to keep the language as is and then add the letters, reference your letters again, Luann. Was it J and K?
Yeah, J and K, they're the ones that say shall. And clarified it,
I'd say 1 line on must.
and it includes the in accordance with the open meetings Act.
So it was Doyle's recommendation to make the changes and he's comfortable with leaving the secretarial information as is with the changes that Luann suggested.
with must, change in must.
Must to
Okay, so
shall.
Doyle, what do you want? Just change must to shall, or
And
do you
then-
want more?
Change must to shall,
Mhm.
and then we need to add the rest of this language
Or
under
a
D,
conflict of interest?
under a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
It needs to be spelled out clearly, specifically, because over the last 2 years, there has been at least 7 different times that malfeasance has been committed
Amen.
on this board.
You're right.
It's also happened on the township board and it's happened on the ZBA. Well, I don't have any control over the township board or the ZBA, but at this board I sat on and I want it right. And I spent the money and I bought the books
And that's.
and
what
I got the
copied.
information out of there and this comes straight out of it.
Yep.
And it needs to go into our bylaws.
Make a motion.
I make a motion that we add D, A, B, and C into our bylaws, our existing bylaws.
What about the minutes? What about the minutes section up there?
Okay, let me start over.
Let Luann make her own motion.
You can.
I can do it.
Make it.
And under the minutes, I move that we change must to shall be available. And then under the conflict of interest, section 5. Under D. We add A, B, and the whole paragraph there.
As written.
Once it is determined that a conflict of interest exists, he or she shall recuse himself or herself. This is more than simply abstaining from voting. It means that the person must remove himself or herself physically from any discussions, hearings, deliberations, information gathering regarding that decision, in addition to abstaining from voting on the decision.
Joel, may I ask for clarification? Did you want to leave the original language for the secretarial duties, or were you changing it to the new language of your draft?
The only wording you're changing is must
The
to
only
shall.
wording was I was,
You're talking about this that's highlighted right in front of us,
Mhm.
that minutes need not be word for word and all that is still included.
yeah,
Yep.
Isn't it?
Everything that's.
Well, that's not your original language. That's the language that I
That's-
drafted.
yeah, that's
That's
that new
why I
language.
was asking. You had said earlier
That's
you wanted to
draft
leave
an
it the
MPA
original
that you put in
language.
there.
I
The
would
only
take
thing you
that-
were asking not to have removed was the must and have put shall.
If we
in your
don't use all that extra word stuff about the minutes and only put in the J and K or IJ and K from, that covers these without being so picky. But I'm over it. If you
Wait a minute,
are willing
I-
to just change the
I'm
shall,
lost on your. Where are you getting that IJ and K from?
From the
From
ZBA.
From the zoning board of appeals one.
that's got the wording in it for the secretary shall
What's that?
provide minutes. But
Oh, yeah.
to move
Have the
along,
original copy.
this is the.
Yeah,
copy.
Just make it as written.
So just, we'll go with Ed's or Doyle's comment of change must to shall, and we'll leave the rest of Ed's, lots of words in there, and we can live with it. And then you said add the paragraph and all of this on the bottom, which we haven't discussed, but you want to vote that into.
Yes, the conflicts of interest, everything that's bold writing would be included.
Now, where did this come from, Ed?
MTA.
Okay. Which book?
Right, here it is. Township planning and zoning decision making.
What's your move to add? Oh, I lost something here, Doyle. Say it again for me. Add the
Change must,
change
to
must
shall.
Shall. In secretary
minutes,
minutes, in minutes. And under conflict of interest,
in,
add the whole paragraph.
yes.
as written From MTA's
Yep.
township planning and decision making book.
yes,
Including the, all the bold.
Yeah, A, B, and C included to the paragraph.
These additional don'ts came from that too,
Yep.
including readings.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion on the matter?
Yes.
What?
You didn't say no, I guess I should.
Maskey,
Yes.
Fletcher,
yes,
yes.
Yes.
No,
No.
motion carried.
Okay.
Old ordinance amendments review. And you should still have some of those on there that we
Hmm?
went through.
Yeah, so we're now focusing on as the items below our ordinance amendments active for ordinance 2008 amended through 1/20/2020. There's more open ones to review. I focused on 4 of them for tonight's review, okay? So if you look at 17-03. Ordinance miscellaneous information ordinance was limited to 6 months. It could be extended for another 6 months, so this ordinance is already expired. So it's not even active, it's expired already. 17-02 is already part of our ordinance. It did get implemented in the updates. Okay. 13-1 is informational to support the last one, okay? So 11-1. Ordinance was repealed with ordinance 17-1. So it's already should be repealed.
Say that again.
Do they have titles?
11-1
Was
already been repealed.
with 17-1.
Okay.
Then 9-2 was actually repealed with 13-1. And that's why I put 13-1 in this document, just so people seeing that we, the work, you look at the summary of it, the summary of them are fairly identical, okay? And we'll deal with 13-1. In time, it should be added to the master ordinance when updated, but it actually covers everything that's in 09-2. Any questions or discussion?
No,
So,
I'd be happy. Anybody else have any discussion about this?
so I make a motion to repeal / make inactive 09-2, 11-1, 17-02, and 17-03.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this? Roll call, Maskey.
Yes,
Yes.
That's yes.
Yes.
We're on to new business. First up is to vote to ensure that if anyone is on the agenda, they will be contacted by the person creating the agenda or the person previously identified.
so when I put that on the agenda, Jackie seen it and she said to me that there was actually I'm looking for it right here. That I knew that the township board had voted to do that. They also created a procedure. And in the procedure, it notes the planning commission also. Okay, so it sort of does blanket us. But I think what we should do is, and unfortunately, it did not have a number to the procedure. Okay, let me find that.
I mean, it's a policy.
Yeah.
Do policies get numbers like ordinances do?
Yeah, here it is. And I thought Jackie was going to put it in our booklet, but let's see if it is. Okay, it is actually part of 7. Okay, everyone will have a copy of it as in 7.
We just wanna
So
agree with or.
yeah, I guess what I was
Accept
thinking.
it as ours too.
Yeah, and maybe we reference that policy in our bylaws though, to try to get us somehow to, link to it. I don't know, I'm just trying to. Or do we don't even need to do that? I'm just,
Probably not, if it's a policy and we keep it in our mind, it's the policy we'll use. We could just.
say that we had,
Agree with.
we agree, right,
Policy
right.
as approved by the township board.
Put it in a motion.
Okay, I move that we. Accept the wording of the township board policy and use it in our meetings on the planning commission.
Second.
Could it, and Luann, since there's no number to that, could we amend that to say policy for notifying township residents of properties in meeting agendas? Just, you know,
The whole name.
yeah, the whole name.
Accept the policy for notifying township residents of properties on meeting agenda and use it as our own.
Yes.
Okay.
Are we done with discussion? Vice King,
Yes,
Fletcher,
Yes.
Wes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So. Mr. Opperman wants to step down from the ZBA. And I told him that I'd be willing to take that seat. He's got stuff going on. And. I'm more than willing to take the ZBA seat. Is there anyone else on the board? That's interested in being on that seat?
Well, I guess I would. I would serve on it.
Right.
Because I know that she has been overwhelmed with this stuff at times. So I don't know if you want to take on another board seat or not.
Well, I didn't go in and get sworn in or anything, so the seat's open. And I'm more than willing to let you have it.
And I
Okay.
appreciate it, doing it.
I'll take it.
Thank you.
Is everyone okay with that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I think it's good.
Ed?
Yeah. I have no issue with it.
Thank you, Doyle.
Okay. Cause I know how busy you are.
The next meeting, I think, is next January.
So do we- Yeah, actually,
Let Mr. Zell catch up.
yeah, I can hear that.
Right, are you okay with that, Doyle, taking that seat? Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we allow Doyle to take the ZBA seat.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
you have to go in and see Jackie to be sworn in.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Yeah, not a problem.
Does the planning commission make a recommendation to the board when the board appoints?
Yeah.
What I was told by the supervisor is the planning commission decides who they want to put in that vacancy seat. And then we're the one that makes the decision according to him. So when I asked him, that's what he had said. So,
We might know.
So now what they, they appointed them. The second, you will have to answer.
and that was the reason I asked the question. According to supervisor, when he looked it up, he said that it's up to the planning commission, so. And I asked, all I can tell you is I asked. Yes. I can tell you what was told to me, that's what was told to me, so. And I didn't,
I'll try and get in and see him tomorrow.
okay. Well, Jackie's going to be waiting for you to get sworn in.
Okay.
Mhm.
Who seconded that?
I second it. Yes.
thanks.
Okay, so we got a number 9 on here. And this is. Extenso.
So,
Now, let's think about.
working with the zoning board of appeal. It was discovered that when the planning commission. Completed the ordinance amendment from section 19.02. That in the published copy. It only had the first paragraph of section 19.02. And it inadvertently left off numbers 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, and 7 of that section. And so after consulting our attorney has made the recommendation that this come back before the planning commission. That we go back through the process of the hearing and such. To clarify that it is the intent to maintain the full text, including escrow provisions as outlined in verse 1 through 7. So I am bringing this ordinance amendment to the planning commission based on that recommendation on behalf of the zoning board of appeals. It doesn't, in effect, change anything about what we're doing. It's just to clarify that it was in fact the intent to maintain the full text of that ordinance amendment that was done in 2024. I'm happy to answer any questions.
You said it was left off after number 1.
So this was brought to you in 2024 to add the 30-day appeal window.
Mhm.
And when it was published, that paragraph in which that change was made was the only portion that was published. The numbers 1 through 7 that speak to the escrow account were left off of that publication.
Oh,
And so the attorney is making the recommendation that we go back through the amendment process and publish the complete text for clarity, that it's the full text, including those escrow provisions, that is to be maintained going forward.
so. Yeah, and we would actually pull another amendment number for
That is correct.
it, right, just in this, and then. When we write it up, then we want to put that this repeals the old one, right?
And there,
Is it, okay, I missed 10.
maybe it's not actually.
Section 2 on the back,
Oh, this says effective
where's
date.
invalid?
Seven
So we
dollars.
just do the repeal clause. So yes, and I'd be happy to add the repeal clause. That's great. So you could make the motion to move this.
Or with the repeal clause.
The repeal clause, is that of a number? What's it repealing?
It's gonna repeal the prior section 19.02 and it would be replaced with what you're going to. Whatever amendment number you're going to do.
So I make a motion that we accept,
Can we set a date with that motion?
yeah, the ordinance to amend. I guess wrong
Section
document.
19.
Yeah, there we go. Section 19.02 of the Millington Township ordinance. That would be, that Tammy has, Stenzer has provided with addition of the repeal clause. And the public hearing would be targeted for November 10th.
I'll support. Any other?
It's as written besides what's in bold there.
So you've already. Done what's in bold there. That was done in 2024. I'm just bringing it back to you to show what it was that you changed in 2024.
So the main thing is, so
We inadvertently left off 1 through.
it wasn't put in public notice. It wasn't,
The 1 through 7 wasn't put in the, it wasn't put in the final document.
that was
Publication.
called publication. Even though we probably have a full document in our.
That I agree, got it. Got it.
That he moved to amend section 19.02 Millington Township ordinance and include. And put the entire wording and add the repeal clause. With the hearing date possibly November 10th, 2025,
Public hearing, yeah.
public hearing.
Roll call, I'm asking.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
You said you had more than this, that's all you had.
So I have something else, but I believe that it's listed in your packet under my zoning administrator report. And it goes with the documents that I put in your packet because the scale documents were left off of the documents that were put in your folder. So the scale documents go with this packet. So in your folder, I have presented you with a special land use permit application for William and Loretta College on behalf of the Tabernacle of Praise Church, which is located at 4009 Millington Road. This parcel is zoned agricultural residential, and in that district, schools, churches, and cemeteries are permitted as special land use under section 5.02 of our ordinance. The Tabernacle of Praise has been operating at this site for some time, but no record of an approved special land use permit has been located. In September of 2022, the Planning Commission did approve a sign permit for the church, but did not approve the land use. The church has now requested approval for a carport on the property. Because there is no record of a valid special land use permit, I cannot issue a zoning permit until the church use itself is formally approved as a special land use by the Planning Commission. The applicants have submitted a completed special land use application with a site plan which meets our ordinance requirements. Our recommendation for action tonight are as follows. 1, acknowledge that the absence of a special land use permit for this property is an oversight of the township, not the property owners. 2, determine whether this application should be subject to an escrow account as allowed under the ordinance for non-residential requests. 3, schedule a public hearing at the earliest possible date in compliance with Article 18.02 so that the Planning Commission can act formally on this application. 4, review the site plan concurrently with the special land use permit to expedite the process. This is fundamentally a corrective action to bring the church into compliance with our ordinance. Given that this was an administrative oversight, not the fault of the applicants, I encourage the commission to move forward quickly and fairly so that the property owners can proceed with their improvements. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
So they did apply for a special land use permit? Or-
I don't show any record of anything relative to a special land use permit. I do have records that they applied for a
Sign permit, right?
The sign permit was approved, but without any records of special land use permit.
So in that building was there any special land use permit ever?
Not
Issued
that I
today?
can find.
So the building was built with the intent to be a church.
Nope, the
No.
building actually was,
McIntyre's store.
Warehouse.
it was light manufacturing.
Mhm.
There are the earliest records that I
It
can
was a
find.
church prior to this church.
It's been church.
Yeah,
for
the
quite-
Baptist
quite a
church
long
was
time.
out there for
Yeah.
a while.
Baptist church was out there for a while.
Yeah,
Wow.
They were out there for quite a while. Yeah.
So they went in there and no one never said nothing.
Evidently.
So that's probably why there was an oversight of the from the administration in the offices because it was. Other than things. All right,
So,
This property, what I know about it. Originally, there was a industrial zone. That went from the village limits on the south side of Millington Road. 200 feet deep. All the way to Oak Road. And that's how McIntyre's were able to put this warehouse in there. Because Irvin Dean also had his bulk plant in that area. So the township had made that 200-foot deep section industrial, commercial or industrial, I'm not sure which it was now. But that's how that building ended up getting out there. And then when McIntyre's closed business, the Baptist church moved out there for a while. And then they come back here. They couldn't sell this building or something. Anyway, they come back here. And then it's been sold to, I think that's when it was sold to these people for a church.
and they started carving.
So why a special use permit was never done, I don't, other than that explanation, I don't know.
But this is a good way to bring it into compliance.
It's, yeah,
Churches are allowed and there's a special use. in this
yes,
zone.
this would bring it totally into compliance. I see absolutely no reason to not approve this.
So we'd have to
Well,
do the public hearing.
So we're gonna have to
Go
have
through
a
the
public
steps.
hearing with all the steps, correct? But they provided us with all the information.
Do we feel we could do the public hearing the week?
guys are asked for it to be expedited
Yeah.
due to the fact that they want to put car part up.
Yeah.
Port up.
You think we could fit it in October? Yeah, I know.
Should we?
Or do we do it the
do a
week of,
Special one before.
yeah, the week of, sometime during the week of October 6th? We'd have to see when we could make sure we get it published and have the 15 days time frame of being published.
Jackie said that with any of these, if we wanted to do one, she can get a publication and the paper, send it tomorrow morning. It'll be published on the 10th. And we can use that as our target date, so that first week of October would fit. I mean, that gives you
The
15
6th,
days.
yeah, the week of the 6th, or
Yeah, or even, you know.
I don't know that
do they
the
wanna do
sixth
it that
versus
quick?
the 13th makes a big difference to
Okay.
this. It's just a week. I think that if you could fit it in October, I think that would be sufficient. Perhaps one of these other threes could move to November to make room for it.
Are we gonna? Or are we gonna do the special use permit and then do the separately do?
oh, the carport.
review of the carport?
So the
It's kinda-
recommendation is that you approve the special land use permit with the carport inclusive of its site plan, and then you would only have to do one hearing.
Oh, I'm not sure. Where's this carport going?
It's
Here's
south,
the-
south of the building.
The
Oh,
big
on the
white
south
spot.
end of
Yeah.
the building.
South of the building.
Okay. Cause I was almost positive there wasn't room between the road and the building. Maybe on the west side. of it.
Almost this connection, right, to the building on the south end. Yeah, so there's a certain. Now you certain cars that let people in. Which they know.
Yeah, it's somewhere I read that was the intent to
Yep.
let them.
Connect section
Oh, yeah.
building so they can just pull right in here and let people off range.
Right, right.
Yep.
Well, Ms. Spencer, do you have a recommendation? Which one you like to see removed?
I think the blight and the building code need to stay together.
We've got those pretty well hammered out though, don't we?
Well, I think we do.
I mean,
think
it would just be a
1411
matter of
is
15
also
minutes
Pretty well hammered
to
out.
approve those.
Unless we get 20 people in here that all want to talk about.
Yeah.
The new ordinance that we want to approve. And each one get 3 minutes, so you're gonna get 10 minutes, there's a hack off. Yeah. We have 3 of them, so
I don't necessarily have a preference. I just think that it's important that you keep 1 and 2 together.
I'm fine with that. What was the third one we had asked?
The third one is the prohibitive structures.
That one's gonna get. Probably gonna get a crowd.
Well, I
If
don't
any
know,
of
that
them.
one, we'd already had a couple of hearings and talked about it, and nobody showed up.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh.
one that we sent out a notice
Okay,
several months ago.
It's very,
so
very.
why couldn't we get all 4 of them in one night? Cause this isn't gonna take that much time.
Hmm. Let's move one to the November. I think I'd rather, it's not earth shattering.
Well, there's only one we can,
Move it.
Yeah,
so let's switch it.
Okay,
So what are we switching?
Prohibitive structures.
Prohibited structures.
Prohibitive structures to.
Gotcha. Good change.
That moves the special land use to October 13th. My understanding correctly.
Yes,
And so then I'll go back through the request. Should this applicant be subject to an escrow?
no, I don't think it should be,
Well, the fees covers the mailings and the hearing. Publication. We still have to do those things.
So are we saying the township is gonna pay for the mailings?
No,
No,
that's why they, with an escrow account, if we set it for them. And they have to cover the mailings because they're putting them in the trust.
so what would be the minimum? 250.
it's already set,
Yeah,
that fee's already set,
minimum's
Oh, okay.
250, sometimes it's as high as 500. But if it is, then they would be notified of that.
So I'm asking
Okay.
because this, as you all have explained, has been in existence for some time now. And we're making an administrative change to correct something that we overlooked in the past. So the applicant has asked, like, we're willing to comply with what we need to do in order to bring them into compliance with their ordinance. But should they be subject to an escrow account since this is not a fault of their own?
I don't,
That's true.
oh, right, and we already done it for another one.
So.
My
Sounds
opinion
reasonable.
is that, no, we just do it in a normal meeting and. I mean, I guess the township board, they're the ones that can. Take it back.
So the ordinance requires that they set up an ordinance account to pay actual costs. So if the applicant doesn't pay it, then yes, the township would pay it. So I'm not sure who has the authority to make that decision, but I was asked to bring that request to you, so I'm bringing you that request.
It's gonna have to go in front of the township board and they're gonna have to.
Yeah, they gotta
it.
approve the funding. We can't approve the
They gotta
funding.
approve the oversight.
So then would the planning commission make a recommendation relative to the escrow account that Luann could then take to the board?
That's gonna cut our time frame.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at. So then that means they wouldn't approve it till
Next week.
next week. The. So 1, 2. And Jackie's,
Application date is,
damn,
If they approved it, it could go in on the 17th.
it still should be good then. Well, even let's say it probably the 24th. Would that make it 24th, the 1st, 8th? So our meeting's after the 8th, so it would still make it.
Nice.
Sorry. You will all take a nap.
Maybe time.
It's on silence, I swear. Set silent mode on.
Ms. Jarzal, is this something that you'd like to take to the township board?
Would you take it to the board?
That's so nice. So I will take it to the board,
Would the planning commission,
but I
Recommendation.
need a recommendation.
Right.
My recommendation is they should not have to pay this fee. It was oversight by this township. Why would they have to pay for this fee? They should have paid the fee initially anyhow. I would think, right? I mean, that's what's required.
well,
Should have.
should have,
Should have.
but they were never asked
Asked
to
to.
obtain a special land use permit.
And when it should have been caught was when
We did this,
sign. And what year was that?
that was 2022.
I think it's oversight on our behalf. I mean,
Remove that due to an administrative oversight, I be directed
the planning commission would direct this to the township as to waive the fees,
Record.
recommend.
to ask the township
Or was that waiving here?
to waive the fees.
I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I agree with
already
you.
done one.
Okay, Ed,
I'm okay with it, yeah. I mean,
Lorraine, you okay with it?
Yeah, we need a second. I'll second it. Your motion. And now we can go.
Miskey,
Yes,
Richard,
Yes,
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 So then my second request is that the planning commission would schedule a public hearing. Relative to Article 18.02 for the special land use and the site plan concurrently. With the special land use permit, expedite the process so that you would look at both of those at the same time.
have you already approved these?
I've already reviewed them and I feel that they meet the ordinance, the requirements of the ordinance, yes. That's assuming that you take those documents that are in your hand and put them in a packet that's in your binder. To make sure those are documents.
I don't have a problem with it, you guys.
I'll make a motion that we set the public hearing to approve the special land use permit and the site plan review and approval at our next meeting, October 13th.
I'll second.
The only dilemma I can see that could possibly affect this would be the township.
not agreeing to pay for
Right,
it.
agreeing to pay for it.
Well, if the township doesn't agree to pay for it, we tell them.
Then I would reach out to the property owners and let them know that they need to drop.
Yeah. Even are we still gonna have enough time restraints?
You got another week of, I mean,
Okay.
Well, as long as they come in and give the escrow in a timely fashion, so that
Right.
we can get the ball rolling. That's all I'm worried about. I'm worried about putting them on the October 13th meeting and then them kind of have an attitude because they think that it should have been paid for because an oversight of administration and then not come in and give us the escrow money. if
I
it's not
don't
approved.
foresee that being.
All right,
I think they'd appreciate that we considered it and
all right, so I'm good with it. I mean, I'm good with everything. I just. I don't want to kick one of the other ones and find out they don't come in for some reason. But I'm definitely going to expediting it. So we got a motion, we got a second it, right?
yeah,
Roll call, Ashby,
yes,
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 all right,
yes.
So the only other thing I had is updates on the permits and the complaints, which should be in the binder and was also emailed. If you don't have any questions on those, then that concludes me.
I don't have any other questions. You guys have any questions?
Tim, this last one on the document of, permits, it talks about, Todd and something else and. Just that, did they get a permit?
What does it say on the right hand?
This is pontoon camper 90-day storage.
So they have on the, what is it now, 14, 15 recreational vehicle ordinance. They have
90 days.
an RV permit for that ordinance to have them on their property for 90 days.
Oh, okay. Like,
So next planning commission, you guys is October 13th. Right?
Yes,
At that note, is there anything else anybody would like to discuss or they have? To discuss,
let's see.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All ayes.
Aye.
I,
Never paid, yeah, but no good on paper. It's.
The form you, exactly, when you need help with it.
That's okay. So, Alvin, your November 10th. Be out of. Looking at your agenda,